What we gonna do now? Reduce, reuse, resource, recycle. Go. It's the time. Recycle. The time. Recycle. Yeah, come on. Oh, yeah. Everybody listen up now. I know you're feeling the love now.
This is an example of our tin, plastic, and glass category or container product category. For example, this old milk or water container. This is HDPE plastic. This is a example of a container product that residents should be recycling each week. In addition, we have some other plastic bottles that are very common that we would find in our recycling containers.
How would I prepare those, Carl?
It's important that they be rinsed clean of any residue. Again, this is a commodity. This is not trash. So we want to rinse the old, if this was a milk container, for example, we would want to rinse it clean of any milk residue that was in it. And then it can simply be placed into the container that is designated for container products. In addition, we have other examples of like this mayonnaise jar. Again, a plastic container that is recyclable. It's not necessary to take the sticker off from it or the label. You can leave that on. It should be rinsed clean of any of its product that it had contained and be placed in the container products recycling container. There are some items here. For example, this broth container is an example of aseptic packaging. Orange juice container, any waxy cartons that contain liquids like orange juice or milk or this broth container are examples of aseptic packaging. These are also acceptable. Again, the resident would rinse any of the liquid that had been contained within it out of it and then place it in their container products recycling container. As you can see, there's a number of items here that on a weekly basis people would produce that can be separated from trash, significantly reducing the amount of non-recyclable solid waste that they generate. In addition to the plastic bottles and containers and aseptic packaging, we have examples of tin cans. Again, they should be rinsed clean, and again, they can be placed in the container products container along with these other plastic bottles and containers.
Carl, what do we do with the lids?
The metal lids can be included. People want to be careful. They can be sharp, so you absolutely want to be very careful when you're handling this material that you don't cut yourself or injure yourself in any way. It is not necessary to flatten the containers. You can if you wish, but they can just be placed in the recycling container. Now, the plastic lids on certain bottles, for example, this salad dressing container would have a very hard plastic lid that goes on it. That lid should be placed in the trash. And just place the recycled container of old salad dressing in your recycling container. Again, after you've rinsed it clean.
Is there any plastics that aren't acceptable, Carl?
There is this type of plastic right here, or plastic bags. Absolutely, plastic bags should not go in your recycling container. This is an example of a plastic that would go in the trash. Again, this is not a plastic bottle. It doesn't contain liquid. It would go in the trash. This frosting container as well. Again, does not have a neck. It is not a plastic bottle or container. This would go in the trash. This is an example of a glass jar. Again, you rinse it clean and place it in your recycling container with your tin and plastic containers. This is an example of a metal container. This has got a 5-cent deposit. Now, you could place this in your recycling container, but I would recommend that any deposit containers people bring back to the store and get their nickel back.
Carl, a lot of people have a misnomer that you can just place any sort of glass in your recyclables. Is that true?
No, that's not true. You certainly would not want to put window glass in your recycling container, or glass dishes or plates, ceramic material would be considered trash. Again, you want to concentrate on glass bottles and jars, rinse them clean, and put them in your container products recycling container.
What would we do with broken glass?
Broken glass should be placed in the trash. And again, you want to be careful whenever you're handling that you wouldn't injure yourself.
Carl, what type of a container do I contain my, my recyclables in?
It's up to the resident. It depends on the amount that they produce and really the amount of room that they have to house the container in between our collection periods within their homes. This is an example of a acceptable recyclable materials container. This could either be identified for tin, plastic, and glass containers, our container product, or paper products. The resident can purchase a container like this at just about any retail establishment that sells waste receptacles. Another example of a container, depending on space restrictions, this container could also be utilized. And we also have some smaller containers. Some people live alone. They may not generate a lot of recyclable material, and this container right here would be perfectly acceptable. The resident would select the container that is best for them. After they purchased it, the city will provide the resident with these decals. This is an example of a container product decal. We provide these to the residents. They would adhere these decals on both sides of the container. The reason for this, our collection trucks that pick up the container products, or tin, plastic, and glass, would key in on this sticker. When they see this, they'll stop and they'll dump the contents of this container, which would be tin, plastic, and glass recyclables, into their collection vehicle.
Carl, do I need 3 separate recycling bins for all of this material that I want to put in?
No. You would require 1 recycling container for container products. You would require another recycling container for your mixed paper products. So if this were your container products recycling container that your tin, plastic, and glass that is recyclable would go into, you could mix all of these materials within the same container. This plastic jug, this aseptic packaging, this tin can, this laundry detergent container. Again, once the material that was once within them is rinsed clean, just toss them in your recycling container. You can mix your tin, plastic, and glass containers all together in 1 container. If you don't generate a lot of this material, again, you could use a smaller container and place these items within this smaller container. It is again important that you identify the containers with the appropriate decals. In addition to your container products container, you would have a paper products container, and we'll review the acceptable materials that can be placed in your paper products container next.